you saw in Chicago was their annual conference. So any venue that they would have booked by NWJ would have been much larger.
Harris Faulkner, a popular name synonymous with bold journalism, powerful storytelling, and groundbreaking success. For years, she graced the screens of Fox News, becoming a trusted voice in American households. But in a shocking twist that left viewers speechless, Harris made the bold decision to step away from the very platform that had propelled her into the limelight. What could have possibly driven such a formidable figure to take this leap? Was it personal, professional, or is there more to the story than meets the eye? Buckle up as we dive into Harris Faulkner's stunning exit from Fox News. Harris Faulkner's trailblazing career. Harris Faulkner didn't just report the news, she reshaped it. As the only black woman to anchor back-to-back shows on Fox News, her career was nothing short of revolutionary. From her early days covering local stories to becoming the face of Outnumbered and the Faulkner Focus, Harris wasn't just sitting behind a desk. She was breaking barriers left and right. But it wasn't just about being on air. It was about commanding the narrative. She brought a unique perspective to the table, one that resonated with a diverse audience hungry for a fresh voice in cable news. Her success wasn't handed to her. It was earned. In a predominantly white, male-dominated industry, Harris didn't just stand out, she excelled. Her approach was sharp, insightful, and deeply connected to the stories she covered. Whether it was breaking down cultural issues or delivering hard-hitting news, she always delivered with grace and poise. But behind the accolades, there was more. How did Harris navigate the challenges that come with being a trailblazer in such a scrutinizing environment? The answer is resilience. Harris didn't shy away from the tough conversations, nor did she bend to pressure. She often spoke about her faith, using it as her anchor in the stormy seas of broadcast journalism. Her poise under pressure wasn't just admirable, it was inspiring to millions watching at home. She broke through glass ceilings, became a role model for countless women, and held her ground with dignity. But behind the success, there were whispers. What could possibly push such a successful anchor to leave the spotlight? Was there something simmering beneath the surface? What makes Harris's career so captivating is not just the success she achieved, but the battles she fought to get there. In an industry notorious for its barriers, especially for women of color, Harris didn't just navigate the challenges, she shattered them. But as she stood at the pinnacle of her career, something changed. A shift, a spark that led her to question the next step. Why, after conquering so much, would Harris walk away from a career she had spent decades building? What was going on behind the scenes? That's the burning question everyone wants to know, what we didn't see coming. It wasn't just leaving a network, it was about taking back her narrative. Harris has built a career on laser-like focus. So perhaps the most surprising thing she could have done was to step aside from the daily grind. But why? Was it because she did everything one could achieve in journalism? Or was it about something more fulfilling? The truth is, Harris had grown beyond the boundaries of cable news. It was the very same network that gave her wings to fly, yet it somehow seemed to hold her captive and not let her fly. She felt the urge for something more personal, more meaningful. Harris, in interviews since her departure, put it as an idea that wasn't that new. She'd been thinking about the topic for some time. The daily headlines, the stress being driven into an incessant scratching post, it was finally starting to wear her down. Yet one project changed everything. Her very personal documentary, Footsteps of My Father, in which she traced her late father's journey as a Vietnam War veteran. It was in this project where Harris realized that her passion had grown too. She didn't want to just report the news anymore. She wanted to tell stories that transcended on a much deeper level. Her exit came with one question hanging in the minds of all. Was it for good? Or was this a pause at most to be followed by an even more thunderous splash? The possibility of a book or public speaking tour, where acumen and experience might shine even brighter, was postulated. Others spoke of competing network overtures, but Harris has maintained mum, fueling the intrigue all the more. One certainty, however it unfolds, is Harris Faulkner does nothing halfway. She's just playing something out in her sleeve, and we all are waiting to see what that is. A new path of personal projects. With years of bringing in the most colossal headlines, Harris Faulkner stood at a fork in her path, the grasp of fame, prestige, and success all over her, yet something felt incomplete. The unforgiving churn of cable news, the constant action of breaking news, and even the expectations of being out there in the eye of the public took their insidious toll, rubbing her slowly down. She knew she wanted more, much more. Or was the burnout of this high-octane career quietly nurturing a passion that would redefine her next chapter? In the world of TV news, the show never stops. Anchors literally live and breathe the 24-hour news cycle. But for Harris, the hustle was no longer enough. She wanted to veer off the headlines onto those stories that reached the heart and created a lasting impact. No longer satisfied with merely informing the public, Harris wanted to inspire them. This was not only a professional transition, but a personal one too. She desired more than just ratings or awards to consider her career well and truly fulfilled. The next chapter of her career wasn't about the career ladder. It was about finding purpose. So what did that mean? Harris started searching for a way to leave her fingerprints, just not by breaking news stories. She wanted to make a difference with stories that had the potential to change lives. The tough anchorman who always asked the questions was now asking one of herself, "What will my legacy be?" This question gave Harris the key to get out of the newsroom and into a world where she pursues personal projects that mean so much more to her. But what kind of projects would satisfy someone like Harris, who has spent decades honing her craft? One thing was for certain. Her next projects weren't career moves, but passion projects that would show us a whole new side of her, one we'd never seen before. And as to what's next, let's just say Harris is about to change how we see her forever. Footsteps of My Father. Perhaps one of the most personal projects of Harris's post-Fox News life is her visceral, emotional documentary called Footsteps of My Father. This isn't a mere piece of work. It's a tribute to her late father, Lieutenant Colonel Bobby Harris, who served in Vietnam. Herein, Harris walks us through the process, one that is arguably unparalleled. She retraces her father's footsteps from the battlefields of Vietnam to the quiet moments of reflection, and allows the viewer glimpses into the life of a man who shaped her in ways with which we're just now beginning to familiarize ourselves. But this project is more than a tribute. It's a window into Harris's soul. She was always this poised anchor with much composure. However, Footsteps of My Father reveals this raw and vulnerable side of her we never got to see on screen. Harris interlaces sacrifice, duty, and the lasting impacts of military service as she tells the story of her father. This is not just one about being a soldier, but also one about his daughter, that in finding her place with the man who shaped her worldview. This project is a richly emotional one, and that is an understatement. Harris dives deep into the struggles her father faced during and after his service, struggles shared by scores upon scores of veterans. The connection between father and daughter throughout is palpable, and the tough questions come in a flurry. What does it mean to serve? What does it mean to come home? You can feel the love and respect Harris holds for her father in every scene, which makes this one of the more personal stories she has ever had to tell. But don't be surprised that Footsteps of My Father is just the beginning. It's really only the first chapter in this new phase of Harris Faulkner's career. No longer is she merely reporting the news, she's making the news. What might possibly be next after this tear-jerking documentary? Whatever it will be, you can bet your last dollar that it too will be as powerful as personal and as unforgettable. Harris Faulkner's spiritual journey and faith. When one thinks of Harris Faulkner, instantly a thought of a steady hand on a news desk comes to mind as she leads one through turmoil and chaos with poise and clarity. Yet beneath all that, there was something at work that has shaped every decision she has ever made and each test of will, her unyielding faith. To Harris, faith is not a part of her life. It is what everything else is built off of. From the highs of a career at Fox News to personal and professional hurdles she's overcome, it has been the spiritual journey that has been the compass guiding her forward. But how did that faith shape her bold decision to walk away from the network that made her name? Harris's faith has always been an anchor in stormy times, and that anchor has kept her feet firmly rooted in the most unpredictable world of news media. It wasn't just during moments of breaking news or live broadcasting that showed her faith, but was an unwavering force behind her personal growth through each unexpected turn. With each twist and turn, Harris falls back upon her belief in some higher purpose guiding her steps. It was this belief that made her write her best-selling book, Faith Still Moves Mountains, where she narrates stories of some of those miraculous moments and divine interventions that have touched her life. In many ways, her book reflects the evolution not just of her faith journey, but also of her as a storyteller. It's about meaning-making, not fact-reporting, in the moments that shape the lives we will lead. For Harris, a move beyond the daily grind of news was as much a spiritual decision as a professional one. And with this new chapter well underway, one question still begs to be asked. How will her faith continue to shape the stories she tells? Could it be that her movement from news to storyteller might be part of something greater, just the beginning of all that is to come? But if you think this spiritual journey is all about her past, think again. There's so much more to see. After all, for Harris Faulkner, faith is not a destination, but the driving force that shall go on to make all the difference in her future. Return to true crime, revisiting the story of Lisa McVey. Back to one of the most familiar genres for Harris Faulkner, true crime shocks many of her followers. It wasn't just another crime story this time, but a very personal and emotional recollection of one of the most unbelievable stories of survival, the story of Lisa McVey. For those who may not know, McVey's terrible experience was that as a teenager, she had been kidnapped back in 1984 by serial killer Bobby Joe Long. Against all odds, Lisa survived her abduction and later helped bring her captor to justice. It's a story that has been told before, but never like this. Harris is no stranger to true crime. Early in her career, she reported on some of the most heinous crimes, bringing a sense of empathy and depth to the stories of survivors. That's not what this is. It's not revisiting an old case, but rather this time giving a voice to someone whose story of survival still inspires to this day. That's no coincidence, because Harris chose this moment to plunge back into the genre. Would it be too much to imagine that here in this story, she reflects her own journey about surmounting her obstacles to gather all her strength? It will be far more than the recitation of facts. The Lisa McVey series is a testament to resilience. Harris has that rare ability to burrow under the surface and expose the human story that supported the headlines. She's not just a reporter, she's a storyteller, and this new project will let her do what she does best: put justice in the forefront and give survivors the spotlight they deserve. But that's not all there is to this story. The deeper Harris delves with McVey into this riveting account, the more twists and turns await, questioning everything he thought he knew about survival and justice. With her background in crime reporting, Harris is more than ready to take us deep into the darkest corners of human nature, a journey we will not soon forget. But the real question is, what more will she uncover along the way? Stay tuned. Harris Faulkner is just getting started with true crime. What's next for Harris Faulkner? With the dust now starting to settle on Harris Faulkner's departure from Fox News, one huge question overhangs everything. What's next? After a career spent at the forefront of cable news, it would be clear that Faulkner isn't just stepping away, she's stepping up. But where will she land? To what exciting ventures could anything even come close to the high-stakes drama of breaking news? But if there is one thing we have learned from the career of Harris Faulkner, then it's that she honestly does relish new challenges, and her next move will probably leave our jaws dropped, just like this recent departure. Speculation, indeed, has already begun on what new directions might be in store. People close to the industry say Harris might get deeper into documentary filmmaking, something perhaps born of a love to tell stories that matter. Her recent personal project, Footsteps of My Father, has already seen Faulkner manage to weave a narrative that resonates on such a deep emotional level. Might this, however, be the start of something even bigger? Could we even foresee Harris at the head of her own production company, specializing in faith-driven content or uplifting true-life stories? There is always writing, too. Faulkner's book, Faith Still Moves Mountains, resonated with readers, and by how well she is able to weave personal accounts into larger universal themes, it's not out of the question that more literary endeavors are in the works. More spiritual writings, or perhaps a memoir offering a deeper look into life off camera. One thing is certain: Harris's voice is far from silenced. Public speaking could be the organic next step in her career. It's easy to envision Harris Faulkner speaking on stages across the world, sharing from being a groundbreaking black woman in cable news to faith-driven storyteller on a mission. It is not a stretch to see her inspiring others with the lessons she has learned along the way. Perhaps there is a TED Talk or a tour that is in her future. Whatever route she chooses, one thing is certain: Harris Faulkner isn't done making waves. As her fans and followers, we are left thinking, what next? Will she again catch us by surprise with yet another unforeseen pivot? Will she tackle a whole new industry? Or perhaps she will carve out a niche that no one else has thought of. One thing is certain, however: Harris's future remains brighter than ever. And just as it was during her time on Fox News, we'll be glued to see how it all unfolds. But don't get your feet too comfortable. This is just the beginning of the journey, and there's plenty more in store. Harris Faulkner's newfound purpose. As Harris Faulkner steps into this next phase of her professional life, there is one thing resolute: her faith. It was a guiding force through the ups and downs of a storied career. It appears that faith now leads more than ever in her life, as she steps more into a space befitting her values and passions. But what does that say about her future? For Harris, this is not just a career move, but a calling. She has made it known that she is in search of projects not just about headlines and ratings, but about purpose. Through documentaries, writing, or perhaps even non-profit efforts, Harris said she is focusing on stories that uplift, inspire, and drive change. In many ways, this next phase of her life can almost feel like a culmination of everything she has been working toward. As if all the years spent reporting the news have prepared her for something bigger, something more meaningful. The thing that might surprise many is how Harris plans on using her platform moving forward. Having always been deeply connected with her spiritual side, Faulkner has this great potential to intermix her storytelling skills with her faith to create content that touches hearts and minds. Think of either documentaries that look into the relationship between faith and resilience, or books that encourage readers to find their own purpose through challenges in life. Is she positioning herself as some new form of leader in media and faith-based storytelling? If so, the consequences could be profound. It's not only about the content creation, but it's also about finding herself. Harris Faulkner's decision to leave Fox News wasn't just a professional pivot, it was more of a spiritual one, really. She has spoken regarding keeping her work in alignment with her values, and now she has full freedom to do just that. But what makes this next chapter so exciting is it's driven not by external expectations, but by her own inner calling. It perhaps will be the most important work that ever occurred in the career of Harris Faulkner for her fans and followers. After years of educating the people, she is into the heart-transforming enterprise now. While her days of reporting are arguably well behind her, her influence is far from over. As a matter of fact, it is this next chapter that just may prove to define her legacy. So, as we all watch Harris Faulkner take up this faith-motivated journey, the one thing we know for sure is this: the best is yet to come, and we are going to be right there, following along every step of the way. Harris Faulkner's story has not been anything less than remarkable barrier breaking. forging her own path and into a new chapter compelled by purpose and passion. As one chapter closes, another opens. What will Harris surprise us with next? Whatever it is bound to be bold, powerful, and unforgettable. Before you go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more updates as we continue following Harris's exciting new adventures. You won't want to miss a thing.